Well, let's check back in with our weather forecast while we're waiting for the brunt of the winter storm to hit. The metro surrounding areas have already seen a decent amount. This was sent to us by viewer Kenneth from Sinclairville. His yardstick showing 16 inches by the time he woke up there this morning. Do you buy it?
It's not that I don't buy it. I just think some areas have done all right.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe some areas got their first foot. But that's really just the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to think, especially if you live way south, that I'm not paying attention to where you've just been dealing with the snow all day. But we're still going to be tracking a lot more snow. For the next 2 to 3 days into the weekend, we're really going to be piling it up. So, you know, of course, we're clearing out for those areas. A lot of places to the south of Buffalo will actually quiet down, especially when you get in the southern hills later tonight. Temperature-wise, I wanted to show this because basically right now we still have a westerly wind in Buffalo, but we're already starting to shift more southwest across Lake Erie. And as this colder air, there's much colder air aloft above the surface, these are surface temperatures, that's going to help to really drive that lake effect right up on toward the city. And I'm really thinking later on this evening we get into this. It's not one of these things, you know, we're talking about days from now. We're really talking about tonight is where this gets going for points north. It's been a whole lot colder for those of you to the south where you've been dealing with the snow throughout the day today. Westfield and Dunkirk both managed to get above freezing. Fredonia as well right now at 34 degrees. And we have seen snow showers there, and we're still finding a few, at least locally. Wind, as I mentioned, still out of the west in Buffalo, but you're starting to see that southwest shift over here near Long Point and down near Erie, PA. We'll get into that shortly, and I really think over the next couple of hours, we'll start to get that southwesterly established, and it'll help to bring some of this up toward our area. Now, there is a system involved in this whole thing. There is an area of low pressure and there is a front, but the key thing that we're watching is just the cold air that's been entrained in this whole pattern over Lake Erie that's going to help start to really focus the snow more so than it has been. This is kind of disorganized, but you still see a number of those patches of snow showers, especially in Chautauqua County. We may get a little bit more into Cattaraugus, but you're talking on the order of around an inch or two. You're not talking any big numbers. This thing could be putting down 2 inches per hour, even as early as 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's midnight tonight, and I'll show you at least the beginning of this where you get into some of those snow showers. Tomorrow morning, by 8 o'clock in the morning, we're already going to have some snow coatings in place. And that's a key piece of this forecast. And then during the day tomorrow, I do think at least at times it may focus a bit more toward South Buffalo. Later on in the day, it'll likely make a run north again, especially by tomorrow evening. But looking at 6 p.m. here, you see the way it's settled to the south a bit. It's not likely to stay there. So you may get back into some of this in southern Erie County later Friday. But by Friday night and Saturday morning, that is expected to start working its way back north again. So through 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, this is why a lot of schools had canceled and a lot of other things, because you'll deal with wind gusts as well. As the day progresses tomorrow, we'll start to get some gusts into the 30-mile-per-hour range. And I'm zoomed way in here because this is really where most of this business is going to be. If you add in the rest of the day tomorrow, these would be cumulative totals through 8 p.m., you see the snow continues, but I do expect the areas to the north here, that's really minimal up at, say, the northern edge of Grand Island, up around Buckhorn. On the lower end of things, you go from the northern edge at 1 to 3 inches. The southern edge of the island may be closer to around 6 to almost 8 inches by the finish of the day on Friday. So there's a very sharp cutoff to the north here. I will say, for those of you in, say, Amherst and Williamsville, some of those areas, your better time frame is not even so much this first round into Friday and Friday evening, but Saturday early morning. See how much farther north that goes? It goes all the way up toward Grand Island and toward Lockport, even getting in on some of these snow showers. That's a key thing for Saturday. So I don't want anybody that far north. Say you live in South Lockport or Williamsville and say you wake up Friday and say this is nothing, it's no big deal. There's still more in the pipeline. Later Saturday night into Sunday, I expect that band to drift to the south and basically be falling apart at that point. It may be able to put down some minor coatings Sunday, but at that point, I think Sunday the bigger deal is going to be the gusty winds. So the totals through Saturday, because I was just showing you where that band is likely to be as it pushes its way north, that's where you start really adding up these numbers closer out toward Clarence and Williamsville. And the numbers drop off as you get up into southern Niagara County, but still, you know, 10 inches is, you know, something to shovel for sure. The wind side of things, I could let this play through, but bottom line for tomorrow, expecting to find gusts to around 30 miles per hour, around 35 for Saturday, and potentially some gusts to near 40 miles per hour on Sunday. So while there'll be less snow to deal with actually falling, we may still be blowing some of that snow around. It's also going to be miserable to be outside, but it is worth keeping up with this snow, especially if you're in some of those areas where we're talking about those much bigger totals. If you're a plow driver with a smaller plow rig, that sort of thing, you're going to need to hit a lot of these places many times during this event. Dave, Jordan.
Todd, thank you.